I see a lot of healthy people. They're eating well, they're exercising, and they're still having all sorts of problems. And it's only when we get their sleep right that they get better.
Hey friends, welcome to Keep It Simple Sexy. I'm Christine Bullock, founder of KO Body Care, certified fitness trainer and mom of 2 little girls who's just trying to juggle it all and feel as good as possible. I'm so grateful that you're here. Now let's get started, sexy. Pre-warning, this episode is a total snooze fest, but you're going to want to tune in if you're trying to improve your anti-aging Z's. And you're not alone if you're not getting the 7 to 9 hours of sleep recommended a night. In fact, 40% of Americans report occasional insomnia, 22% experience insomnia almost every single night, and 70% of Americans just aren't getting enough sleep. So I've called in your sleep support expert, author of numerous best-selling books, including Better Sleep, Better You. We have Dr. Frank Lipman with us here today. He is recognized as a vocal pioneer of integrative and functional medicine, or what he likes to call good medicine, and I absolutely love that. He's the founder of 1111 Wellness Center and the chief medical officer of The Well. He is the best-selling author of 7 books, and I have all of them, just not here at this very moment. Some of them include Better Sleep, Better You, The New Rules of Anti-Aging, How to Be Well, The New Health Rules, Young and Slim for Life, Revive, and Total Renewal. I mean, those are great titles too, Dr. Lipman. Dr. Lipman has also been featured in the New York Times, Vogue, Women's Health, New York Magazine, the Oprah Magazine, and has appeared as a guest on Today, Extra, Dr. Oz. I mean, you name it. We are so thrilled. I'm so pumped to have you here, Dr. Lipman. Welcome to our show. About to drop
Great
some
to be here.
truth on us.
No problem.
So, we're going to focus in on sleep, obviously, today, but I would love to hear about how your passion just for anti-aging, what led you here?
Well, what led me to anti-aging is as I got older, I started researching, how to age well. When you're a doctor practicing wellness medicine. I mean, I've been doing it for so long now. I've been doing it for 35, I don't know, a long time. I've been a doctor for over 40 years, but I've been practicing wellness medicine for well over 30, 35 years. And you've got to practice what you preach. So as I got older, as I got into my 60s, I started researching anti-aging. So that's how I got into anti-aging. Sleep has always been fairly important to what I practice, but I never really, sleep, we always sort of pushed aside. It was always about diet and exercise and stress reduction and what supplements could be helpful. Sleep, we always knew was important, but I never really got into the research or explored it as much as I did for this last book. So it was one of those areas that I just didn't understand enough of, or I just wanted to delve a little bit deeper, because in all my research on anti-aging, sleep comes up all the time as probably the most, or one of the most important things one can do to age well. So that's how I got into anti-aging and sort of then explored sleep further.
I love that. And that's pretty amazing that, really more recently, you've really delved into so much of the anti-aging, and truly, I believe you have some of the best information out there and books, because they're very clear and they break it down. I started as an elementary teacher, so I think in my experience of being a health coach, it's like, I really like to give very not basic. I like to take complicated information and really easily apply it. So exactly what you just said about the sleep as well, that we've really focused on diet, exercise, and stress as those 3 pillars of longevity and anti-aging in the past. And you're saying, and I believe you, that sleep is just as vital, if not more important than all of those 3. What happens when we don't get enough sleep? Why is it so important?
Right. And just to get back to your earlier point, I mean, that's exactly what I try to do in my books. I try to take a lot of complicated information because there's so much um, misinformation or a lot of bad information out there. So I try to take a lot of this information and simplify it for you. And sort of my motto has become, or, I was told by my wife, I need to write for elementary school people so everyone can
We all
understand it.
are. We're still all elementary
So,
school.
so that's
Yeah.
basically what I do. Okay. So, but why is sleep so important? I mean,
Mhm.
most of us don't realize that when we're sleeping, our body is actively working quite hard. We just think we go to sleep, we forget about it, nothing's happening because we aren't aware of what's going on. But when we're sleeping, your body's actually working quite hard. It's the only time actually when your body is actually repairing all the damage that's been done during the day, or all the processes that work or overwork during the day. That's when your body recovers at night. So it's where when your body cleanses itself. We have this internal cleansing mechanism in our body, and one of the areas in particular is the brain, and it's called the lymphatic system. It's like a sort of detox and garbage removal system in the brain, and it only works when you sleep. So when you're not sleeping, that garbage removal system is not working. And if you just think about it, it's logical. During the day, our minds are very active, and all these chemicals get made and broken down, and your body has to clear them. And it's only at night when you're sleeping when your body clears all those excess chemicals. And the metaphor I always use is, if you have a party one night, and you wake up the next morning and there's a mess there, and if you don't clear it up and you have a party the next night, and the mess gets bigger and bigger, and after a few days there's this huge mess. And that's what's happening in your brain if you don't get sleep. So I think it's very, very important to realize how important sleep is, because if you don't get rid of the garbage, that builds up, and that's probably one of the commonest, or the most important causes of aging, of Alzheimer's disease, of all sorts of medical problems. So sleep is key to optimal functioning in the body.
I love that analogy and that picture so much of just, really accumulating so much stuff. And in my past, I wasn't sleeping well, and I woke up a lot in the middle of the night for almost a decade. And it was like that stress sleep where you wake up and you can't fall asleep. And I truly believe it affected my hormones. It might have thrown my thyroid out. My PCOS turned on. I couldn't have a baby for 8 years. And it was me really, I feel like the sleep, I always say, was the most vital point of healing myself. So what are some, you mentioned some of it, the Alzheimer's, like what are some of the other acute symptoms that people may see to be aware of, and chronic symptoms that they may end up getting, so that they're aware they may not be getting enough sleep.
Right. So you nailed it. One of the big things that happen if you don't sleep properly is it affects your hormones and metabolism. There's certain hormones
I gained a lot of weight too.
Yeah, because you have excess cortisol, and why you couldn't sleep at night, or you woke up in the middle of the night, was probably because you were stressed. And when you're stressed, you have excess cortisol, and especially the excess cortisol at night, because you want cortisol during the day, but at night you don't want too much cortisol. And if you have too much cortisol at night, you're not going to sleep properly. And if you have too much cortisol, it's going to cue your body to retain fat, so you put on weight. But there are other hormones that are affected if you're not sleeping properly, and that can affect apart from your weight, but your fertility and all sorts of things. So the acute symptoms you feel, most people know if they don't sleep after a few nights, they tend to get sick more easily. If you don't sleep, you get tired, you have brain fog. Those are sort of some of the acute things. But the chronic problems, whether it's diabetes, you become more insulin resistant if you don't sleep, so you get insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, diabetes. You're more prone to heart disease, as I said, Alzheimer's disease, all sorts of diseases. So sleep is one of those factors that are probably one of those factors that affect almost every organ and present with any sort of disease.
And it's funny, it's like where we led with this, which is sleep is almost more vital than everything, where you can have a pretty good diet, you can be mixing it, you can have pretty good exercise or not, but sleep is like, it's one basic thing, like, that you just absolutely need in your life to prevent it sounds like everything. It's going to lead to almost everything because it's going to be that spiral effect too in your body of not repairing itself.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If you're not sleeping properly, even with the hormones that get released, you tend to be more hungry, you start eating more crap. So it affects your diet. If you're not sleeping properly, it's going to affect how you exercise. I mean, all of this works together. I'm not saying diet isn't important. I'm not saying exercise is not, or dealing with the stress, but they all work together. But sleep, unfortunately, is that forgotten aspect of our health. And partly because, we don't really know what's going on. We just go to, it's when we feel our body is switching off. And also, the way we live our lives today, we think sleep is sort of a waste of time. We don't realize how important it is for our body. So that's another aspect. We so many of us feel we just don't have enough hours in the day to do what we need to do. So we sort of ignore, or we push sleep aside. So yeah, and over the years, as I became more and more aware of it, I just realized how important that sleep aspect is to people's health, because as you said, I see a lot of healthy people. They're eating well, they're exercising, and they're still having all sorts of problems, and it's only when we get their sleep right that they get better.
True. So we're talking about all these things that can possibly happen, and let's talk about how to hopefully fix this for ourselves. Is there a one size fits all when it comes to sleep and how many hours everybody needs? How can we figure out the equation for what we need?
Sure. I'm a big believer that there's no one size fits all for anything, including sleep. Having said that, there are a couple of basic tips or facts that everyone is going to, similar things. So most people need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Having less than that for most people is a problem. Although some people can do just fine with less than 7 hours, that's not common. Most people do not need more than 9 hours sleep. So for most people, between 7 and 9 hours sleep is what one needs. And there, couple of basics that are going to affect everyone. I think we need to remember sleep is a rhythm. It's your primary rhythm, as in day and night. You sleep at night and you awake during the day, hopefully, most of us. And it's a primary rhythm. And we actually have these rhythms in our bodies. So when the rhythms go off, it affects your sleep and it affects the functioning of your body in general. So trying to go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day can be very, very helpful for one's sleep. Remembering that you want complete darkness when you sleep, because that's any little bit of light is going to affect your primary sleep hormone, melatonin. So if there's any little bit of light in your room, it can suppress your sleep hormone. So you want complete darkness at night, and light during the day, and not artificial light sitting in an office. Obviously a lot of us have to sit in an office, but try get natural light during the day. So you want as much natural light as you can get during the day, especially early in the morning, and you want complete darkness at night.
I love that. And that's sold. And that's why we spent the extra money on the blackout curtains in our house. I'll tell my husband that. But truly, it helps me. I feel like I sleep so much better, especially if you go to a hotel. I would notice I would sleep so much better. You also mentioned in there, we're kind of talking about the circadian rhythm
Sure,
of
this
your
is
own
right.
body. And I love this. You compared it to three birds, like people's systems. Can you tell us what our natural rhythm is for sleep? Can you tell the viewers a little bit about the lark, the owl, and the hummingbird?
Yeah, so that's not, those are just standard names given. That
Mhm.
wasn't my idea. But, you get, there are basically three different types of peoples who, let's talk about basically when people go to sleep and when they wake up. For instance, I'm a lark. I wake up early. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and that's my best time to be awake.
Me
But
too.
for other people, they don't really function well early in the morning, and they prefer to go to sleep late at night. Now, I like to go to sleep early and wake up early. There's some people who are owls who like to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning and sleep later. So it's not necessarily, the way our culture works, being a lark is easier than being an owl. But if you're an owl and you're able to go to sleep at 2 o'clock, you just need to wake up at 9, 10 o'clock. You get your 7, 8 hours sleep. So as long as you're going to sleep about the same time, if you can, it's not a
Mhm.
problem necessarily being an owl. And then the hummingbird is those people who are somewhere in between the lark and the owl. But um, we actually talk about in the book, because of the culture, being an owl is difficult, how to sort of shift your
Mhm.
circadian rhythms a little bit, because sometimes owls need to go to bed a little bit earlier, and we teach them how to shift that, because unfortunately a lot of people have to wake up, although it's a little bit different now maybe for some people, but a lot of people have to wake up earlier to go to work, and their body clocks are such, and that it's difficult for them.
Mhm.
But it's not. You talked about no one size fits all. We all a little bit different, and just because you're not like the next person who wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning and feeling ready to go is not necessarily a bad thing. That just may be who you are.
Yeah, I love it. I have a girlfriend who she is the owl but lives off too, like 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night, and it's totally just, but I hope she listens to this episode to understand those
Right.
long-term results that might be happening in her body right now as well. The Keep It Simple Sexy podcast is brought to you by KO Body Care. Right after I turned 30, something happened that I was not expecting. I noticed the skin on my body was aging faster than the skin on my face. Crepiness, sunspots, fine lines, and wrinkles, they all seemed to creep up overnight. And then it hit me. I've been using all sorts of powerful anti-aging ingredients on my face, but I wasn't doing the same for the skin on my body. So that's when I had that aha moment to create KO Body Care. KO is face grade body care, which means that it's pure and effective enough for the face, but formulated just for the body. We use the same ingredients as high-end clean skincare brands to help skin look smoother, brighter, firmer, and younger. The product that put us on the map was our Body Beautiful Cream. Beauty editors are obsessed with it because it combines clean, natural ingredients, omega oils, green tea, mangosteen, goji berry with clinical actives like hyaluronic acid and CoQ10. It leaves the skin feeling so hydrated, so smooth, so soft, and even gives your collagen production a boost. So are you ready to see what face grade body care can do for you? Then go to kobodycare.com. For our first time users, use the special code KISS20 for 20% off your purchase. You also mentioned in your book that sleep starts a while, 60 to 90 minutes before we actually get even under the sheets, not just like close our eyes to
Sure.
go to sleep. And I love talking about rituals, and I think they're beautiful in our life. It's our morning rituals, our evening rituals,
Sure.
because they um, lower our cortisol, in the sense we have so much coming at us all the time anyway. So it's
Yeah.
good to have this common stuff, especially when you have children. You realize how much they love it.
Yeah.
We love it too.
I agree.
So what are your live to sleep from your book, some of your rituals for the evening that really help to prepare the body?
Right. I think, really important point, and not even for sleep. Rituals are really important, which is another aspect of our culture. We've forgotten about that. And
Mhm.
as you point out, especially for kids, I think rituals are great. So I'm a big fan of rituals in general for health, for family, for everything. But
Makes us feel safe, you know? It's the
yeah,
same thing, we know what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah. Um, and I know with my grandson, who's what, 1.5 now, my daughter has trained him so well with his sleep, which, to be quite honest, we didn't do with our daughter, but I see how good she is with his sleep, and he loves it. He's used to, he's ready for his nap, he's ready to wake up, and he's ready to go to sleep. It's very interesting how he actually really likes his ritual. But as an adult, the rituals that I think are important are having some transition time between your daytime activities and your nighttime activities. It's important to realize you can't go at 100 miles an hour and think you can stop dead and go to sleep. So,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, just dimming the lights, playing some relaxing music. I'm a big fan of, I always talk about, of reggae music, for instance. Reggae music beats at about 60 beats a minute, which is, you're talking about rhythms, which is about the beat of a slow heartbeat. So when you
Oh,
put
nice.
on music like that, your body entrains to that rhythm and slows down. So you can put on any relaxing music, but putting on some music, doing some restorative yoga can be helpful. Having a hot bath, my wife has her hot bath every night and relaxes in the hot bath. And so finding something that helps you transition between your daytime hours and your nighttime hours can be very helpful. So and obviously you want to enjoy that ritual. So if a hot bath doesn't do it for you, just find something else. But
Mhm.
that transition time is important.
I love that. And it's funny that you say the reggae. I had read when my first daughter, she's 4 now, was born. She had a lot of energy, like even as a newborn. And I had read that dogs relax with reggae, and now I know why. So we always play reggae in our house. I sing her to bed
Uh,
with reggae. Like, I love that. So that's amazing. Now I know that little heart of why that happens. Yeah, and I love that. It's like whatever your nighttime rituals are, owning a skincare brand, for me, one of the things is just applying that, because I think it just trains my brain, even whether I'm aware of it or not, to understand that what's coming next for me and that it is
exactly.
nighttime. Well, okay, so we're prepping, but what about the daytime? I'm sure there's a lot in our daytime, as we said, if we have our cortisol levels are off, if, we need some cortisol, but if they're off and we're stressed, then we're going to have it more in the evening. So you have a section in your book called Move to Sleep. And as a fitness professional for 20 years too, what is the breakdown of, like, are there specific types of fitness that are better? And are there times of the days that are better for fitness, or maybe types of fitness as well?
Yeah, I don't think there's any particular exercise that is best for sleep. I think finding, what you want, even rituals, we can talk about rituals again, but doing exercise regularly is probably more important than what you do. The other aspect of exercise is if you exercise too late at night, it can keep you up. So, I prefer personally, but not everyone is like that. I prefer exercising in the morning. I do best during the day exercising, and I sleep best when I exercise in the morning. Now, there are some people, and actually there was some research recently that I saw, who actually do well if they exercise in the evening, but at least 2 hours before they go to sleep. So the exercise does seem to help some people if they do it later. But I think the most important thing is to find out when you can exercise. Sometimes you can't exercise depending on your work. So most important would be to exercise regularly. If you can manipulate when you exercise, find out when you sleep better. The beauty of what's happening with sleep now, there are now all these ways to monitor your sleep. I wear an Oura ring, but I mean, there's Whoop, there are all these gadgets that monitor sleep. So you can
What
see what
exactly is that ring?
the Oura ring is. It's a ring that you wear that monitors your sleep. So
Oh, amazing.
it's very easy to monitor. So you can actually monitor and adjust your routines and see how it affects your sleep. So um,
Love it.
from exercising to how you eat, when you eat, what you eat, how much you eat, all of those factors, you can sort of monitor yourself now. So it's actually, we're entering interesting times where one can actually become one's own doctor to a certain extent. So
You do
I
your own
think
clinical data, just jot it down in your sleep journal.
exactly. So most important is exercising regularly. I don't think there's one particular type of exercise that is better, but just from anecdotal data from speaking to my patients, some will say if they exercise too much aerobically at night, it keeps them up. Um, Exercising too much and too hard generally may affect your sleep, so that's not necessarily a good thing. So I
That's what
just,
happened to me as a fitness professional. That's what started to wake me up in the middle of the night. You fall
yeah,
asleep, but your body has so much cortisol that it
exactly.
just wakes you right back up. Yep.
Right, because exercise is a stress on the body. So if you over exercise, it's an extra stress. So you just got to be smart about exercise. I think exercising moderately and regularly is probably the most helpful rather than any specific type of exercise.
Truly keeping it simple here. I mean, it's all about the balance in what you're saying. And you mentioned the nutrition, just to gently touch on that, because obviously we know
Sure.
what a balanced diet is. I mean, we know lots of veggies, lots of whole base foods, take out the processed foods and salts. But you start to mention how the gut is related to sleep. And I guess my specific topic is, or question is, how late is it? How many hours before we go to sleep is important? You touched upon at the very beginning, it's our complete repair time. And we hear about
Mm-hmm.
intermittent fasting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess most of the people I know, because they hear about it for weight. But one of the first things why I started with this is the healing of the gut to kind of
Sure.
turn off every system in the body. So how many hours before bed should we not eat? Or is there types of food, obviously, even closer to bed as well, that we should not be eating?
Yes, all the above. So first of all, intermittent fasting is fantastic for aging, for metabolic health. Yeah, sometimes you lose weight, but I don't necessarily use it for weight loss, although it's a good side effect. But it's wonderful for your sugar metabolism. It's wonderful for your gut. It's wonderful for aging. So intermittent fasting is great. And what happens with the beauty of intermittent fasting as well is, I always tell people eat dinner earlier and breakfast later, so you can build up to that 16-hour or so time period of not eating. So ideally, you want to go to sleep, or eat at least 3 hours before you go to sleep. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen all the time, but the more time you have between your last meal, whatever you put into your mouth, actually, not only the meal.
I was going to say,
And
what about sugar, wine, alcohol, right?
well,
Same.
alcohol we'll get into. That's a whole nother
Okay.
story.
Ooh,
But
okay.
so you want to eat as long as you can before you go to sleep. You
Mhm.
want your dinner to be relatively small. Unfortunately, most of us have a big dinner. You actually want your earlier meal to be larger. I only eat 2 meals now. I just had my breakfast or brunch after fasting, and then I'll have dinner around 6:30, whatever it is. But I have a big meal now. I've had a big meal, and then maybe a snack later and a smaller meal later. So you want smaller meal. You don't want to eat too late. And the foods that affect your sleep are really the sugar and the starches. So you don't want sugar is the devil anyway, but you definitely don't want sugar. So you want a small meal. You don't want, if you are going to have dessert, not that I'm encouraging it, as small as dessert as possible. And then alcohol is a major issue. Alcohol is probably in my experience anyway, the biggest um, inhibitor or problem with sleep. Most people don't realize how negatively alcohol affects their sleep, because apart from it often being high in sugar, the hormones that are released with alcohol and the way it's broken down is you usually fall asleep fairly easily because it may relax you somewhat, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and it can be harder to go back to sleep. So alcohol is one of those factors that or one of the commonest factors that affect our sleep negatively. And a lot of people don't want to accept that because they like their drink or their drinks. So, but I
Especially at
find,
night.
yeah. So if you are going to drink alcohol, try drink it much earlier. Drink it like even pre-dinner. Too much
Mhm.
alcohol at night, you know, is going to affect your sleep. And it may not now in your 20s, 30s, 40s, but I'll guarantee you you'll get to a time where it is going to affect your sleep.
Ugh. I remember it affecting it in your 20s, but you can just kind of go and you still function well. But once I hit my
Yeah.
30s, I'll be 40 this year. It's like,
Yeah.
really not that much. And I'm going to back you up because with my hormonal problems too and the PCOS, I put on weight. It's like diabetes. I put on weight very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so the intermittent fasting, not, for me, it was the longevity. I started to feel better and get my focus back. But even after having my second child, we adopted our first. I finally, after 8 years, had my second child.
Right.
I figured this weight is going to be hard to take off. And when I was done with breastfeeding and I was back to my intermittent fasting to help me feel better, I was on the 2 meals a day also because I was working and I had the baby and I was very busy. And that weight just dropped off and I've never felt so much energy. That was my
Yeah.
biggest thing. I was managing 2 kids under, 4 years old and a
It's a
business
lot.
and all
Yeah.
that. And so there's something to be said about that. And then also same thing too, my biggest meals in the middle of the day. When we can, luckily, I guess
Sure.
with COVID, we don't go out that much anymore. So we really manage it very well. I have just like one more main question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who need support with their sleep to kind of get them on the habit, I always say, like, we love these rituals. And then sometimes there's that little support to retrain our brains too, that we can take
Mm-hmm.
supplementally to help us.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to use the melatonin, I would wake up in the middle of the night. It seemed like it would wear off around 2, and that was another thing for me. And I would wake up and it kind of trained my body that way. There's no research in that, but that's what happened to me. So
Sure.
eventually I did a lot of research about CBD
Mm-hmm.
and I started using CBD, and I get the deepest
Mm-hmm.
night's sleep. Even when my hours are shorter, I feel like I get a better quality sleep.
Yeah.
And again, this is what I actually feel for me help heal me, get me pregnant, part of it, and support that sleep that I truly needed. So you mentioned the CBD in there,
Sure.
and I love it. You said it's the new doctor's orders. There's so many good
Mm.
comments. It's less about getting high and more about getting well. Love this. And it's the anti-drug of choice. So can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about CBD? You don't have to dive into, but why it's supportive of your sleep. Why
Well,
you
yeah,
believe in
I'll
it.
talk about CBD, but your point about melatonin is well taken. There may not be research, but I hear a lot, and it happens to me as well. I think melatonin actually only works for people who have a rhythm problem because it helps the body get back into rhythm. But
Mhm.
I hear so many people who take melatonin. I'm not against melatonin.
Mhm.
I take it sometimes. I recommend it, but I do hear often people do take melatonin and they wake up in the middle of the night. So melatonin is not the right thing for everyone. I use CBD much more often than I use melatonin for myself and for patients. I mean, I love CBD too. So CBD is one of the 100 or so cannabinoids in the marijuana plant. THC also comes from the marijuana plant, and that's the part that has psychoactive effects. CBD does not have any psychoactive effects, but it also works indirectly with the endocannabinoid system in the body. So it has a lot of positive effects on the body, including, calming people down and helping them sleep. Uh,
Can you write
So,
a book about that system next? Because that system
well, I
like
think
just totally excites me.
yeah, there are. I have seen a book or two about that. I mean, the endocannabinoid system is pretty fascinating. It affects all aspects of our bodies. I am a huge fan of, I have lots of patients. We weren't allowed, although we're going to be allowed to use THC in New York, but I have so many patients who use not only CBD, but CBD and THC mixes. I mean, I think it's a whole art. I mean, I know you can get it anywhere now, and people use marijuana to get high, maybe, but I mean, it has a lot of therapeutic benefits too. So I think well
Better than a lot
used,
of these stronger medications, I'm sure, that are out there that are,
yeah, I
not
think
really treating the underlying of
Yeah, I
the issue
think
of sleep.
it's a very, very interesting plant, which has a lot of beneficial effects if used well. So I'm a big fan of both, but CBD is pretty benign, and it's nothing. Some people get a little bit scared of the
Mhm.
THC and the psychoactive effects, but you don't really get that. You not don't really. You don't get that with CBD. So it's pretty benign. In fact, it's usually my first or second line recommendation, as you say, when people need a little bit of help. I sometimes use L-theanine and calming nutrients.
Mhm.
I'll
Love that.
sometimes support the adrenal system to help people sleep, which will help with their stress response. But CBD is something that I recommend a lot. I'm a huge, huge fan of CBD.
We even have our grandparents or our parents, our kids' grandparents on it at this point too, and there were
Yeah,
people that are like, "THC," but now they're, oh, they
yeah.
they absolutely love it to help support their sleep and their rhythm again. I think that's something that as we age, it continues to move a little bit, so it gets you back on. And the nice thing is too, I'll say about CBD is like I wake up, I can hear the baby, and then so because we're still in that period of time where I'm waking up a lot in the middle of the night,
Sure.
but it helps me just to fall right back asleep
Yeah,
after I
no,
put the baby back down. It supports
it's
that for
it's
me.
a yeah, I think it's
Mhm.
a wonderful supplement, nutrient, whatever you want to call it. It's a wonderful herb which has a lot of beneficial effects on the body, and not too many negative effects, if any. So, uh, big fan.
That's wonderful to hear. So, I mean, I feel like we've touched upon so much of what people need to hear about sleep, of what to look for if they're not getting enough sleep, the fitness, the nutrition, the starting early, creating your rituals, the supplemental support. Is there any last words of wisdom that you have um,
Yeah, I think
for sleep?
we touched on it, that sleep is a rhythm, and
Mhm.
when you're out of rhythm, your body, we talked about the circadian rhythms, this rhythm that's about a 24-hour process, but that affects all other rhythms in your body, and your sleep and wake cycles are your primary rhythms in the body. Melatonin is your major sleep hormone. Cortisol is your main daytime hormone. So when your sleep goes off, your rhythms go off, and it affects every aspect of your body. And when your rhythms are off, life becomes, it's as if you're swimming upstream. Everything becomes harder. So think about sleep as your primary body rhythm, and you want to get back into rhythm. Um, and one of the ways to get back into rhythm is sort of try coordinate your life with the cycles of nature. So when it gets dark, go to sleep. And if you're going to stay up after dark, that's fine, but have a pitch black room. Get up in the morning and get some natural light, because your body, to get back into rhythm, you need that natural light. And sometimes even a cup of coffee. I have, first thing in the morning, I have my black coffee, which
Me
also
too.
helps waking up and getting into rhythm. So just think of sleep and being awake as rhythm. So you want to be wide awake during the day, and if you want your coffee, and if you want to calm down, um, use some CBD or something to calm you down at night. And then that black dark pit, that dark room is important as well. So sleep as a rhythm. I think when people understand that, and what helps them get in and out of rhythm, that's important.
You know what? That's so beautiful and it goes so much deeper. It's almost like the chicken or the egg. But if we can keep a journal, let's say we're feeling a little lost in general, which I feel like so many people are, and obviously we see these symptoms in our life, and one of them is sleep. If we look to get our sleep back on track, and in that we have to work on our nutrition and on our fitness, and we're learning what's best for us, I feel like this creates a really beautiful rhythm in general for us to be more productive as well. We get the sleep that we needed to, and it's just, that's a gorgeous way to think about aligning everything, is finding our rhythm and applying that to our life.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Lipman. Okay,
Okay,
we have a speed round question. It's really
sure.
quick, okay? And
Okay.
I figured we would stick with the evening stuff. What is your favorite evening ritual? One thing.
Um, I just try and put on some relaxing music, and I used to do a bit of restorative yoga. I don't anymore. Lately, I watch too much TV. I mean, with what's going on in this country, I watch too much TV, so my nighttime rhythms are not that healthy at the moment. But I generally I switch off my phone, get off the computer by 8 o'clock the latest. So anyone who knows, they don't send me emails or call me after 8 o'clock.
Well, I love that. You are just a wealth of information, Dr. Lipman. Thank you so much for your time here. It's an honor for us to all hear from you about, sleep and just general our rhythms and getting the best out of our life. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Good luck with the show.
Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Well,
Okay.
hopefully, we're all going to wake up now after this episode to how vital a good night's rest is for our overall health. Thank you for joining us on Keep It Simple Sexy, and I hope you're able to apply these rituals to aid in getting your deep sleep you all deserve. Don't forget to follow on Instagram at Frank Lipman MD for all so much great information. You can find all the books that we mentioned, including Better Sleep, Better You, on his website, drfranklipman.com. And then don't forget, you can visit our notes of today's podcast for bulleted highlights of actionable steps that you can apply to your daily health routines. Subscribe to us, and if you loved today's episode, please leave a review and share it with a friend who needs a good night's sleep. Thanks, everyone. Have questions you need answered? Text me at 1-310-361-8697. Make sure you're following me on social at Christine Bullock, and have a healthy, happy week. See you next time.